Welcome all to my Monotype Nuzlocke challenge. This is the summary of how it went. And after finally acquiring a DS emulator, I went to tackle the Platinum and Black Nuzlockes. Horribly. That wild bee barrel still haunts me to this very day. And after failing my Black Nuzlocke, I want my revenge on this game. Welcome to the Monotype Nuzlocke. The rules are the standard Nuzlocke rules with some extra ones. If you're watching the video, you're probably the kind of person that already knows what these rules are, so I'll just write them up in the description. But for a Monotype Nuzlocke, you can only use Pokémon of one specific type. I've chosen Fighting for 3 reasons. 1. I wanted to pick a type that would be good for the 5th generation games, but would be too limited in the GBA games to celebrate me using a DS emulator. 2. I wanted something that would give me a decent chance of winning. I avoided the fire type largely because of Clay. That man killed 4 of my Pokemon last time I faced him. 3. Ordino is a normal type that can be found on almost every route and gives me a ton of experience points, making the grinding very easy. Whilst most people agree that in a Monotype Nuzlocke, you may only capture the first Pokemon in any given route that matches your chosen type, ignoring all that doesn't fit the type. I'm going to force the first wild Pokemon to be a fighting type using cheat codes, and I'm using a random number generator to decide which one it will be out of the 20 approved evolution lines. I also use my own rules, battle set to set, species close, and strict level limits for all major battles. These are standard in my runs at least. Time to choose Tepig, as it's the only starter that evolves into a fighting type, and I didn't lose any of my opening fights. I have lost the opening in previous Nuzlocke, so it's not impossible. It happened in my Starlock, although I somehow left that out of my video I did. I was happy to capture the first Pokemon on my Nuzlocke, and it's a Torchic. It took me a few attempts, but I got my second Pokemon of the Nuzlocke. Despite me doing a fighting type Nuzlocke, it seems I only have fire types. Whilst I had more trouble with capturing Chimchar, eventually he was caught. Then the next thing I know, whilst grinding, I accidentally got caught with a fight with Bianca. Although at this point in the run, I appear to have a team of fire types rather than fighting types. So not a problem at this point in time, but I fear Charon and Cress more. Despite me being unprepared, I did have plenty of potions, so I survived this time. I got to the point where I got the Elemental Monkey. I didn't have a rule for this in my Monotype challenge yet, so I allowed to capture another Pokemon for this area as a result of getting a gift Pokemon. Meet Timber, and thus I get my first actual fighting type. Time for a rematch with Charon, and I sent out Oven thinking he would have had Purloin first out, but it wasn't. Nevertheless, I sent out my Chucker, and then I sent out Goku once Purloin was up, since Chucker doesn't learn a fighting type move until level 12. It worked, so I beat Charon. Time to take on the first gym of the Nuzlocke. I trained my Pokemon at level 13 and began to use my only fighting type move that I had for the whole of the gym battle, and I healed when needed. It was slow work, but I got my first gym badge without a single death. However, this is how my failed Nuzlocke run went as well. Time to catch more Pokemon before taking on the next gym. I failed to capture Hitmonchan. Great start. Then I accidentally cheated another Hitmonchan when I was supposed to cheat a Hitmontop, which I did end up capturing. With my last route, I caught a Hitmonchan. Seriously, that's what the number generator gave me. However, this time I was able to catch it, so Ali joined the team. So I prepared for a gym leader that killed 2 of my Pokemon last time I faced her. This time, I'm using exclusively fighting types. We get started and immediately my attack gets lowered from Intimidate. I only got rid of half of Herdia's health, so I need to switch to Arcade since his attack should be better. I could KO Herdia this turn, but it's Watchog I'm most concerned about. Herdia then proceeded to do a worrying amount of damage with Takedown. If it crits me, I could have the first dead Pokemon of the Nuzlocke. If it keeps using Takedown, then I should try knocking it out first. I must have forgot that gym leaders have potions. It doesn't matter, in the end I just use Triple Kick to KO the Herdia. Last up is Watchog. I use Triple Kick in the hope that I'm faster. I'm not, and Watchog uses Retaliate, a move that is overpowered for this point in the game. The base power is 70, but it doubles if the user's Pokemon was knocked out in the previous turn. and thus Arcade becomes the first Pokemon to die on this run. I then sent out Ollie to hopefully finish this gym. His Mach Punch doesn't get the 1 HKO, but luckily for me, Hypnosis missed, so I got the win. 1 dead after 2 gyms is pretty good, but I had 2 deaths in my normal Nuzlocke at this point. A Nuzlocke that went on to see many deaths, and which I ultimately lost just after the 6th gym. I replaced Arcade with my newly caught Scraggy, a Pokemon I hope will prove useful against the Elite Four, if I get there. And at this point, I take a little break for about 3.5 months. A warning to Nuzlockes everywhere, your biggest enemy might just be seeing your Nuzlocke to the end. And after almost a third of the year has passed, I continue and I manage to catch the only other Pokemon available to me at this point of the game, Croagunk. It's generally nice to have a spare Pokemon in the box in case the Poke-Apocalypse happens. 3rd gym time and I feel very confident thanks to having 3 Fire-type Pokemon. I start off with Poke and I managed to get one of his Pokemon down, but as soon as my accuracy dropped, I switched into Goku. I knock out Dweeble, and despite his final Pokemon being 4 times weak to Fire-type moves, just kidding, I win. 3rd gym and only 1 Pokemon down. I guess I made an amazing return to this Nuzlocke, but by the next gym, all these Pokemon would be dead. I go ahead to face N in Ambassador City. You know, one of the good things about a monotype Nuzlocke is when my opponent has a Pokemon that is weak to my entire team. However, welcome to one of the bad things. Pokemon that know moves that are strong against all my Pokemon. I switch into Krusty, who is dark, and N's Pokemon uses Psybeam, which gives me the free switch. It takes half its health with a feint attack. Useful information for later on. However, my Scraggy barely survives an air cutter, meaning I'll have to switch once more. The only way I can make it out of this battle deathless is if I can outspeed his Zigglyph. My Hitmonchan is one of the fastest Pokemon I have. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Second strategy. I throw out a Pokemon to be killed whilst I heal Scraggy. This is my best bet to make it out of this fight alive. And at this most critical moment, I got critted. The only thing I can do now is send Pokemon out and pray that I can do something. Goku survives with just 3 HP, allowing me to take a massive chunk of his Zigglyph. Since Zigglyph is faster, I'm going to have to use Mach Punch and hope for the best. And it was so close to working, but a 4th Pokemon is down. Next up, it's Poke, and he barely survives, meaning I'm able to finally knock out that Zigglyph. All left to do is heal and carry on arm thrusting for the victory. Let's take a moment to mourn the death of 4 of my Pokemon. Well, time to rebuild my team, and luckily for me, Nimbasso opens up a lot of new capturing opportunities. First up, Curlier. Now, I have to catch it as a male, as it's the only gender that evolves into Gallade. Second, Lucario. I didn't want to deal with happiness, so I called it as a Lucario. And if you feel like this is kinda cheating, then you'll be happy to know that it somehow knew a ground-type move, killing my starter Pokemon. This continues my 100% record of killing off starter Pokemon, jeez. Despite recently getting Ultra Balls, Lucario was a tough Pokemon to capture. I eventually did. I wonder, if he's strong enough to kill my starter Pokemon, maybe he'll last the rest of the challenge. I also captured Poliwag, Meanfor, and finally Shroomish, giving me a spare Pokemon. It's great after that disaster being able to have a spare Pokemon again. Unfortunately, whilst preparing to face the 4th gym, my Croagunk dies to a Fire Punch from a Darumaka. I spent that whole morning preparing, so I just headed through my untrained Shroomish and head to the 4th gym. I start with my Oven, which is a bit of a risky move. I used Rock Tomb, a move that Jack Black died when I was trying to get it. I switch to Bow Wow, as he's not weakened to Emolga's fire moves. She switches, as do I. But I get paralyzed, so I have to heal it off. And sadly, it's pointless as she gets a crit knocking out my Oven. I wasn't kidding when I said my whole team would be dead by the time we finish this gym. Literally, all of them. Dead. Now I'm in deep trouble. Time to give Tofu a shot. I wouldn't have used it, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I get a Fake Out and a Rock Tomb, but it isn't enough. I'll have to switch into one of my best Pokemon right now, Link. My Gallade is actually faster than a Monoloke, giving me a KO, but the second one wasn't. But luckily it didn't kill me, so I was finally able to face her last Pokemon. Last up is Zebstrika. I heal up and Zebstrika deals half health to Link. This last Pokemon isn't going down easily, is it? I chose to sacrifice Shiitake as I tried to heal Bow Wow to face this Pokemon. I throw my fastest Pokemon in the hope of outspeeding him, but it didn't work, and another Pokemon dead. I have to sacrifice yet another Pokemon just to be within a shot of surviving this gym. At least I can get a Fake Out off. At this point, I'm prepared for the end of the challenge. I'm actually looking forward to the future. I'm planning on doing a Heart Gold Nuzlocke unfilmed, except maybe for the Elite Four if I make it. Similar to my Leaf Green Nuzlocke Elite Four run, which you can totally check out on my YouTube channel. I used Bone Rush and it almost KOs that Zebstrika. I tried a second time knowing that she would have to heal her Pokemon, but I only managed to do half the damage. I used Facepalm thinking it would be more reliable at this point. It almost wins me the battle, but Zebstrika survives with a sliver of health. It is paralyzed, meaning I'll be faster next time, giving me the win once Zebstrika is healed. And I'm in winning distance, of course. I get the final hit, and I claim the 4th badge. I'm generally surprised to come out of that battle. I'll have to face Charon with only 2 Pokemon. I worry I won't be getting my 5th badge. So, we're facing Charon. I open up with Link. I predicted Charon would use Fake Out, but there's nothing I can do about it. It proves useful increasing my attack. I knock it out with a Rock Smash. I take a risk and keep Link out against Tranquil. I hope that I could KO it in one shot with Rock Tomb. It didn't work, and it almost killed Link. Next turn we both heal. I can beat it in 2 turns, just as long as I don't get critted. I'll be alright. Next up is Dewott. I start using Slash, but it does a 3rd. Jeez. It uses Focus Energy, so I heal in preparation for a crit. I use another Slash, and then I get critted, and shockingly, it knocks out my Gallade. I'm down to my last Pokemon. Was this it? Was this where my challenge ends? I send out Bow Wow, and I use Facepalm, which almost naps me the win, and then... I survived with 3 HP, 3 hit points away from the end of the run. I'm faster, so I use this fact to get rid of Dewott. Oh great, a Fire-type Pokemon against my Steel-type. I decide to heal and hope for the best. Almost half health, jeez. I have no choice but to declare an attack. This could be the last move of the Nuzlocke for me. It doesn't KO. I wait, and I pray that I survive. And thankfully Charon used Yawn, allowing me to continue the Nuzlocke. I have to go out and rebuild my team. I use all the available opportunities to capture new Pokemon. I get a Heracross, a Throw, and a Meditate. And Heracross was interesting. It didn't shake to a Net Ball, it didn't shake to an Ultra Ball, but then I capture it with just a Heal Ball. Interesting. I spent the day training up to level 30. I'm particularly worried since the gym's Excadrill was responsible for 4 out of my 6 Pokemon on my team dying during my standard Nuzlocke. My strategy was to use X-Defend and X-Attack and hope for the best. In this time, Clay uses Torment and Swagger, which could make things tricky. I have nothing to heal Confusion, so I'm just going to have to hope. My first Brick Break goes off without any issues, and I try to waste a turn foolishly thinking it would help my Confusion problem. I don't even know if it actually did. I try for Brick Break and I get to see how much damage a +3 attack does with Confusion and hit myself. Yikes. Speed Fall's making me worried, but another issue begins to arise. My luring accuracy. I'm really struggling to get an attack off, but at least I end up snapping out of Confusion. In order to try to reduce the damage to my accuracy, I use an X accuracy. I'm so desperate I'm actually using an X accuracy. I don't want to switch. As much as I hate the current situation, a 3+ stage attack could KO Xectrol in one shot. I decide on using Aerial Ace since it's at least guaranteed to hit. Clay heals and I use Fury Attack, hoping it can finally KO Palpitoad before my accuracy is lowered anymore. It goes to 3. One more and it would have KO'd him. I use Aerial Ace to finish it off. Now I was staring death in his face. The Pokemon I feared the most in this Nuzlocke, even though he's weak to fighting type moves. If I can just land a Brick Break, I would likely win this battle. I pray once more. He uses Slash. A move I was worried was gonna crit. Luckily I survived, and I watched, and I hoped I would land a hit and finish the match. It lands, winning me badge number 5. You should have seen me celebrate this one. I've been massacred in the last 3 major battles, and I finally get away with a deathless major battle despite losing 4 Pokemon in my previous Nuzlocke here. Next day I head to Chargestone Cave and catch myself a Hariyama. Out of the available Pokemon left on the list, Hariyama is my favourite, but that list is starting to wear thin. I haven't made a final decision if I should be able to capture new Pokemon or ban capturing Pokemon after the whole list is done. I wasn't planning to capture any footage within the cave itself, but an Archon did a surprising amount of damage to Bow Wow, despite it being neutral damage. I remember Archon having a surprising amount of attack stat, but this was ridiculous. I had 2 options, either go into a healing loop and hope to waste his PP for aerobatics, but if it was just to crit just once, it could lead to more deaths. The other one was to use Force Bomb and hope to paralyze Archon, and hope that he would be paralyzed and not be able to move as a result. I went with option 2 and Bow Wow died. It was very unlikely to work, but at least I defeated Archon, so Bow Wow didn't die in vain at least. I made it out of the cave despite worrying about N. His team was a cakewalk and there was none of that Siglif anywhere. Rest in peace, Bow Wow. I immediately head to the next route and successfully catch a Mankey. Now for the scary stuff. We have Celestial Tower, which is full of Ghost and Psychic types, the Flying Gym, which is full of Flying types, and Charon, which is where my Pokemon Black Nuzlocke run met its end last time I did a Nuzlocke of this game. But first I get drawn into a long rotational battle. The issue is that Zubat could potentially sweep my team if I'm not careful. I knock out Watchog fairly quickly. Spud almost gets KO'd. Yikes. Eventually I get onto Red Health and use Georgia to hopefully finish Zubat off. Luckily it outspeeds it. After that, the battle was as good as over. Next up, the Celestial Tower. I teach Ichigo and Spud payback so I would at least be able to get an attack on the Ghost Pokemon. But first, I get the last wild encounter I can get until after the Charon fight, which is a while away. I damage the Hitmonlee and then one shot, thanks to a critical. This isn't good. I switched to Giorgio, which I should have done earlier if I'm honest. To my relief, Hitmonlee can't do that much damage, so I was able to capture him. During the Celestial Tower climb, I get into a fight with Mashana, which almost killed Spud. This left me in a situation where I had to sacrifice one of my Pokemon just to proceed. Oh dear. I then switched to Giorgio. I managed to get a flinch thanks to King's Rock, which I got from Spud when I caught him. This allowed me for an extra hit, which turned out to be vital as Mashana almost KO'd Giorgio. Jeez. I felt like that fight could have been a lot worse. After that, I didn't really have any issues. Even the trainers in the Flying Gym wasn't that much of a threat. So I made it to Skylar. I came in with a strategy, of course. Initially, my plan was to use Spud and use X items, and then Ichigo learned Bulk Up. This would speed things up as I wouldn't just have to use X Defend and X Attack, since the move can increase both at the same time. You know, that's just one of the joys of a Nuzlocke. Suddenly, Pokemon and moves that you never think of using can end up becoming the heroes in a Nuzlocke. It's not free. If any move crits on me, Ichigo would surely be a goner, so you know. I use full bulk ups, and I heal when needed. There were 2 times Swoobat used Amnesia, which raises special defense, but since I'm only using physical moves, it actually helped me. Swoobat went down in 1 hit. Next up, on Pheasant, I used Vital Throw, and I came close to losing Ichigo. I'm nervous since 1 critical hit on my Pokemon and my strategy would be all over. However, I KO on Pheasant in 1 shot. I'm at the last Pokemon, but I have to heal. Swanna uses Air Slash, which almost does half damage on me. If it happens again, it would KO Ichigo, but only if it critted. So, I take the risk. And she uses Aqua Ring, so you know what that means. That pretty much guarantees me the win. Oh, I've actually beaten the 6th gym. I've beaten the gym my type was weak to. Oh, brilliant. I decided on allowing to capture Pokemon I've already caught once I'm done catching all the possible evolution lines. With only 4 Pokemon left and 2 to be caught, I think it would make things more interesting to allow more captures, but before that can happen, we have Cherin. His first Pokemon is Unpheasant, so I bring Spud out to use Fake Out, which he just detected. Oh. I tried attacking from there on out, worrying about how much damage one of his attacks could do. I was generally worried about this, and that his Pokemon could sweep my whole team. He used Taunt, which finally allowed me to attack, and it crits, knocking him out in 1 turn. Wow, a crit actually goes my way for once? The biggest threat was removed, however, the battle wasn't over. Semisphere was out, and I used this turn to buff Spud's attack. Since Semisphere's attack hardly did any damage, I decided to give 1 more buff, and I went for the attack, knocking out Semisphere. I continued to sweep the starter as well, but changing when Lipod came out because of its Fake Out, and Jojo being a bug type, it resists dark type moves. And with 1 Brick Break, I finally passed the point where my last Nuzlocke failed. Now I have Surf and access to Twist Mountain, I now have a lot of new opportunities for capturing new Pokemon. I start to feel like this Nuzlocke might be beatable after all. I caught a Soak in Twist Mountain and a Machoke in Mistralton Cave, which was weirdly glitched. This meant I have now captured a Pokemon for every eligible fighting type evolution line, so I can now re-roll for more. Woohoo! I then capture a level 5 Microheater on Route 17, a Piplup, a Monferno in Route 18, and after looking on the internet to find out how to get to the P2 laboratory, we have a Scraggy. Hopefully this time I can keep it alive. I do a bit of grinding, then I make my way through Twist Mountain. It's been quite a while since I've last advanced from Twist Mountain and beyond, so I don't know exactly what's ahead. I make sure to fight as few trainers as possible since they are all around my own Pokemon's level. I could avoid all the trainers, and I spotted a doctor, so I thought, free heal. What could go possibly wrong? Oh dear, he ended up having Psychic-type Pokemon. Yep. And the next thing I knew, Giorgio got badly hurt and Spud had passed away to Georgion. Thanks to Sight Shock and a future sight hitting me on the same turn. Jeez. I managed to knock it out and I hit the record button, which is what you're seeing right now. It was worrying times and I brought out Murderer knowing full well that it would likely die. I used Strength twice and I got put to sleep. Luckily for Murderer, Mashana didn't attack at all, and it could have easily done it at any point, as you can see when Ichigo was brought out. Mashana did almost half damage, so I risk it. And I use Payback, hoping for the KO. And to my surprise, it goes first, and it gets the KO. It's a shame to lose one of my best Pokemon at this point. I finally escaped Twist Mountain, and I give Spud a proper burial. This was my first death in quite a while. To my surprise now, I'm in Icarus City, and 3 new capturing opportunities open up. So I catch Hitmonchan, Kirlia, and Machoke. Before fighting the 7th gym, I decided to restructure my team. I needed to replace Spud, and I wanted to replace Murderer since I didn't think he could last very long. So Breadman and Christian are in. I need to grind them up first. I'm really happy with the team. It's been a while since I last brought a full team to a gym. I taught a number of my Pokemon Brick Break and Toxic, and I spent extra time getting Gohan Fire Blast. Since I didn't have the money originally, I discovered rings go for 1,500 Pokédollars, and they could be found pretty easily on Driftvale Bridge. That was done surprisingly quickly. I would lead with Gohan since he resisted Ice-type moves. I didn't want to check the opponent's team on the internet. I mean, what could go possibly wrong? Everyone's favorite Generation 5 evolution line is up, and it's down with one Brick Break. Next up, it's the gym's highest level Pokemon, Beartick. I risk it and use Flare Blast, and it almost takes down Beartick in one hit. And then Beartick uses a Water-type move. I survived with more than enough health. I used Brick Break, which deals over half health, and since I knew Gohan was faster, I did it again, getting the knockout on Beartick. I healed it Cryogonal, or whatever it's pronounced, and then Close Combat, which gave me the win. It was the first easy win at a gym I had since Castelia Gym, which was like 30 days ago from this point in the run. Before I faced Bianca, I noticed an area that I wasn't aware of. It had a different name, so I guess that meant I had an additional capture. And it was just a soak. I used Toxic, and I wasted a few turns before throwing the ball and capturing him. I call him Boxy because that's where I'm almost certainly going to keep him. My team is all at level 39 now, and I'm ready for Bianca. I lead with Newt Newt. Am I really going to say it like that every time I say his name? Maybe I will. I worry right from the get-go since Stoutland uses Workup and my Brick Break doesn't quite do half damage. I decide to go with Submission, which is guaranteed to hit thanks to Machoke's ability No Guard. It's only slightly stronger, but it has recall damage. Stoutland goes ahead and uses Retaliate, but it doesn't do enough damage and he gets damage from Rocky Helmet. Brick Break would have probably been enough, but Newt, hold on. Lashana's out, so I bring Giorgio, but that turned out to be a mistake, so Christian came out instead. Lashana hardly hurt Christian, so I start using Sword Dance. It's a long one since Lashana uses defense skills, hypnosises, and if I'm unlucky enough, she'll confuse me. I make sure to heal when needed, but this really dragged on the battle. Making things worse, Charon decided to heal every now and then. Jeez. As long as I allowed for enough help to survive a critical hit, I should be fine. It wasn't until Mashana was hit with a critical hit bypassing all of those defense buffs that Mashana was finally taken down. From Mashana appearing to being KO'd, it took roughly 10 minutes. For comparison, the last gym took about 2 minutes from the start of the battle to the end. Jeez, at least I got rid of the psychic type. Superior is up next. I may not have a full health, but I do have a +6 buffed attack, so I'll try keeping Christian out for the rest of the battle. Superior starts with Coil, so I get a free shot. It almost one-shot Superior, so close. Despite the +6 attack, it wasn't enough. If I used Brick Break or told Christian X-Scissor, Superior would have been done for by now. He then uses Leaf Blade, and to my horror, it crits Christian. I could have really done with Christian for the Elite Four, but I have to move on. If I'd used Brick Break, maybe if I taught him X-Scissor, and maybe if I was just a little bit more lucky, Christian would still be with me. I bring out Gohan and Superior, he does more than half damage with a Leaf Blade, and it isn't even a crit. I mean, thank goodness it wasn't a crit. And Gohan, he is finally able to knock out Superior. Last up, it's Semipower. I have to change into a Pokemon that has full health. I choose Ichigo. Semipower Scald does next to half damage, but I'm still in the green. If I heal, I'll be back to this position, but if I go ahead and attack, and it crits, Ichigo would be a goner. I go for the former and pray that Ichigo hangs on in there. Brick Break does over half, so I then heal and attack and hope for the best. It worked, and the battle is over. I can now head to the last gym, but before I go, I use the new capturing opportunities to get a Pignite and a Krogunk. I realize that I only have Victory Road to capture a Pokemon now. I was hoping for a new Lucario for the Elite Four, For now, I have to concentrate on facing the Dragon Gym. I start researching about the Pokemon I have, which led me to replace Christian with Jackie, since he can learn Ice Punch. I lose him to the first trainer. I got most of Fracture's health down, but it used Dragon Dance and then Dragon Clawed Jackie, and I start to worry. I lose a Pokemon easily to the first trainer? I mean, never mind the gym leader. How am I going to make it through the gym to begin with? I decide to take on the gym using Ichigo. The idea was to use Bulk Up to gain defense buffs, and then attack Fractures. It's a risky strategy, since if it just one crits, Ichigo dies. Guess what? It happened at the second trainer of the gym. Ichigo, who took down the flying gym, is now dead. Holy moly. Newt! Barely picked the pieces up, and with a bit of help from Rocky Helmet. I went back to researching. I noticed that a certain Pokemon had Sturdy, so I could survive almost any hit. I crossed my fingers and I checked, hoping that it could learn Toxic. And it does! So welcome Boxy onto my team. The strategy is to use Toxic and then Heal Stall as Toxic and Rocky Helmet chip away at the opponent's health. Unbelievably, this strategy works, and I get to the gym leader without receiving another death. You can see my team here. I'm going to lead with Boxy. I discovered one of his Pokemon has Mold Breaker, which will bypass Sturdy's effect. I have backup Pokemon and Murderer as a possible heal fodder. I start to believe this could be my final battle. Oh, come on! I start the battle with Toxic. It has a 10% chance of missing, but luckily for me it worked this time. He uses Dragon Dance, and I use Bulk Up. I should start heal stalling soon, so I thought I could prepare this for his later Pokemon by using lots of Bulk Ups. I then find out that he has the move Dragon Tail, which will get rid of my buff since Boxy is forced out. Bedman is up, and luckily for me, both Poison and Rocky Helmet finish Fracture off. Drayden brings out Druddigon, which is a relief to me because it's his only Pokemon that doesn't have Dragon Dance. I heal Boxy and bring him back into the battle. I start using Bulk Up again. I let Druddigon keep hitting Boxy. He's not doing that much damage, and Rocky Helmet is chipping away at his health. Drayden wastes one of his heals on Druddigon. Well, that's one less he can use against his most powerful Pokemon, Haxorus. I then find out that Druddigon also has Dragon Tail, which negates my Bulk Up strategy. Newt is out. But I switch back into Boxy. I heal and then I attempt to go with 2 Bulk Ups and a Toxic, hoping to prepare for Haxorus later on. During this period, Drayden uses his last heal on Druddigon. This is great news because he won't be able to heal a Haxorus at all. I then miss my Toxic, and he Dragon Tailed me, so time to buff Boxy again. Breadman is up, so I heal Boxy and I throw him back in there. I proceed to Bulk Up twice and Brick Break to finish off Druddigon once and for all. So I'm now +2 attack and defense, going into Drayden's last Pokemon. I start by using Toxic. I pray that it doesn't miss. And it hits. Phew. What a relief. He used Dragon Tail, which is a shame that I can't use my +2 attack, but on the other hand, he wasted a turn not using Dragon Dance, the move I actually feared. I decided to stay with Newt. I used Brick Break. Before this battle, I went on to a damage calculator to estimate what sort of damage my Pokemon would do against Drayden's Haxorus. I correctly predicted it would be doing half damage. Haxorus is now in the red, so before the fight, I told almost all of my Pokemon Protect to Poison Stall if this sort of situation would pop up. I hoped that poison damage would knock out Haxorus. It was enough. And I get the last gym badge. You should have seen me celebrate this one. I was a very happy man. It was a tough gym, and I'm glad to figure out such a cheap strategy with Boxy. Only a few days prior, I'm nicknaming him Boxy, because I thought I would never use him. But now, he's the current MVP of the run. I start preparing for the last rival fight against Sharon. I was clearing Route 10 in preparation. I had hurt Pokemon, so I decided to go back to the Pokemon Center. Unfortunately, I accidentally ran into a trainer battle, and they had a fracture. With the Mold Breaker ability, it started using Dragon Dance, and my heart began to sink. I don't have the best memory of what exactly happened. I'm writing this part, 5 days after the fact. I switch into Newt, I press record, and what you're watching right now is what happened. Fracture does just under half health. Based on this, if Newt gets critted, my Nuzlocke is in jeopardy once more. Newt survives with 7 HP. Oof. He finishes the job with a Brick Break. The following Electric didn't pose much of a threat, although it did lower Newt's special defense. I switched Newt regardless of what the next Pokemon would be as a result. I switch into Giorgio and Excelgar? Used me first. I was planning on using Aerial Ace, which could have been a death sentence for Giorgio's 4 times weakness to flying type moves. I changed my strategy. I healed Breadman before bringing him out. I used Toxic, and then I was relieved as I just about secured victory, so I switched off the recording. I replaced Murderer once again with New Jordan, who I accidentally misspelled. Sorry, my friend. At least I might keep you alive. This time. The decision came about after realizing that Everlight could be obtained prior to the Elite Four, so I went with it. Whilst training, I discovered that Griffle had an area which you could surf. So I got another capture. It turned out to be Timber. It wasn't the Lucario I was hoping for, but I have to move on to the last rival fight. And you can see my team for it right here. I led with Boxy once more. I Toxic, and then I start heal stalling with Sturdy protecting me from all crits. It works, then I'm facing Samurott. I start heal stalling, but I get the chance to Toxic when one of his Aqua Tails miss. He calls me back. So I switch into New Jordan to see just how buffy he really is, and he gets hit with almost half damage. I have to change back into Boxy straight away. I use Brick Break in case he calls me again. Aqua Tail makes Boxy go to red, but Rocky Helmet almost knocks out Samurott in and of itself. The last Brick Break finishes the job. Both of Terran's biggest threats have now been neutralized. Lipod isn't doing a lot of damage, so I start using Bulk Up. However, this specific turn, Lipod randomly decides to use Taunt, so I can't use Bulk Up for now. I use heals and X items and wait to... Oh, he uses Taunt again. This time I'm just going to go with it. And I get the KO on Lipod. We're almost done with Terran. I see how much damage is done against Boxy, who has a special defense buff from the X item. And it does a bit too much. A crit could kill Boxy, so I switch into Gohan. I protect to see what move Semicia would use. Leah. I decide to use Brick Break and pay attention on who attacks first. And it's Gohan. I use Close Combat get me the win. Now only Victory Road stands in my way of facing the Elite Four. Now I've reached Victory Road, I hope for a Lucario in the last encounter of the Nuzlocke. It is a Medicham. Never mind. I'm not planning on recording in Victory Road unless something starts to go wrong. And yeah, it turns out that Victory Road only has one mandatory trainer battle, so I made it to the other side with no issues. It was nice to see New Jordan's EV training was at least effective. I'm going to spend a lot of time preparing for the Elite Four, and I will invite my friend Mr. Meteor64, aka Jordan, to do commentary whilst we record the whole attempt for YouTube. Link in the description. All the recording, overlay editing, and narration will be completed as I'm speaking right now, so I have generally no idea how this will pan out. It took me quite a while to get my preparations done for the Elite Four, but I finally did it. I've trained my 6 Pokemon from before, plus a few newbies, Sunny and Blur. Sunny will be taking on the Dark and Fighting type trainers due to his physical defense, and Blur will take on the Ghost and Psychic trainers due to his Dark typing. Most of the preparations was down to me EV training the newbies, and a little bit of EV training for New Jordan as well. Hopefully, That will give me an edge going against the Elite Four. Also, I spent way too long trying to get a black belt, which would increase my fighting type moves by 20% for the Pokemon that's attached to it. At this point in the game, my best bet was to steal one from a wild Soak. They appear 10% of the time, which wouldn't have been that big of a problem if it wasn't for the fact that only 5% of them even have the item to begin with. This meant there was a 1 in 200 chance of getting the right item per encounter. It took forever, but I finally managed to get one. This is my team. Newt and Breadman might be on the sidelines for now, but I have still trained them up as well, since once I get to Ents Castle, I can actually swap out Pokemon. This could prove useful if any of my Pokemon perish to any of the Elite Four fights. Okay, let's count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
go!
Now there is no turning back. Luckily for me, you can take the Elite Four members in any order you want. The downside is that they'll all be similar levels, so you don't get that one member that is much easier than the others. The strategy was to tackle the easiest to hardest. This would allow me to have the most experience points going into the harder fights, and it's more dramatic as well. First up then is Grimsley, the Dark-type trainer. His Pokemon tend to use physical attacks, that's why I've got Sunny up. First thing is Scrafty. He starts by using Sand Attack. Now, hopefully this won't become an issue later on in the fight. I almost knocked him out with just one Brick Break. This meant that he would have to heal. This got him to wait both heals as the same thing happened the turn after. Scrafty barely did any damage to me at all thanks to me EV training Sunny's defense and HP stats. And with that, Scrafty was finally taken care of. Light poured out and she uses Fake Out on me, which does hardly any damage at all, and the next turn she uses Attract. Luckily for me, I still got the attack out, knocking out Lipod in one shot. Bishop goes in and uses Aerial Ace. Thanks to that massive defense stat, Sunny is barely hurt from it, and he goes on to one-shot Bishop thanks to that 4 times effectiveness to fighting type moves. Last up is Crocodile. I take a turn to heal Sunny and I follow it up with a Hammer Arm. It KOs Crocodile in one hit. Wow. Most of Grimsley's Pokemon went down in a single hit and he barely did any damage to me. I hope the rest of the battles goes as well. The second Elite Four member I'm facing is Marshall. Despite fighting being neutral to fighting, since Sunny's HP, physical attack and defense stats are amazing, this should be a cakewalk as well. Well, enough talk. Time to take on my fellow fighting type trainer. First up is Fro. Oh, I sure miss Ichigo. I attack first and I only do just under half damage. Jeez. Fro's Bulldoze decreases my speed by 1 stage. I might as well use Hammer Arm at this point. The first one misses, which is a shame, but the next one lands, KOing Fro. Next up, we have a Conkeldurr vs Conkeldurr matchup. I take the time to heal the damage from Fro. Luckily for me, Marshall's Conkeldurr also misses his first Hammer Arm. Boy, we are in sync. The damage from his Hammer Arm does a worrying amount of damage. Luckily it stopped, and I was relieved that the damage was only a result of a critical hit. Glad it won't be doing that much damage on a normal hit. I heal as a result of this. We both Hammer Arm. However, I noticed that thanks to my turn healing, I'm now faster than his Conkeldurr. I take a risk and I Brick Break for the KO. If I was wrong about his speed or the Brick Break didn't KO him, Sunny would have died for sure. I was right and Marshall's Conkeldurr was down. Meanshower is up next, Marshall's highest level Pokemon. I almost take it down with a single Hammer Arm. It doesn't do that much damage back to me, so it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. It also goes down. Last up is his Soak. Like Marshall's other Pokemon, he can't do that much damage to me. Soak would have went down in one hit, but like my Soak, this one had Study as well. Well, one turn later and the second Elite Four member is down. 2 down, 2 to go. Marshall wasn't that much of a threat. Now it's time to see what Blur can do. I then head to the Ghost Elite Four member, Chantal. While my Pokemon are fighting types, many of them have Dark type moves, so let's see what they can do. Her first Pokemon is Coffagrigus. She can't even do so much as a dent to my Pokemon, so she goes down in 2 crunches. Boy, that was an easy start to the battle. Next up is Golurk. I almost KO'd in 1 shot. I was worried about Golurk because I thought it would have a fighting type move. It did, but since I had buffed Blur's defense EVs beforehand, it only did half damage. Sure, a critical hit would have been the death of Blur, but that almost KO results in Chantel healing, which isn't an issue for me since Blur is faster. After wasting both heals on Golurk, it's down. Chantel is now left with 2 Pokemon and no more heals. Now Chandelure is up. She does more damage than I'm comfortable with. After 1 crunch which almost knocks out Chandelure, I switch into New Jordan and proceed to use Payback. I then find out that Chandelure knows Psychic. New Jordan becomes yet another death in my Nuzlocke. If you're interested in seeing Jordan's reaction, I recorded this for YouTube since he joined me to do core commentary for the Elite Four. Link is in the description. Jordan claimed to have warned me, however, 1, he said that it was part fire type. I mean, that's true, but New Jordan shouldn't have any problems against a part fire Pokemon. 2, during the attack, he said that
what? No, I knew it had Psychic! I warned you!
Couldn't have mentioned that before I attacked, and that's only assuming he did know, and I don't assume that at all. 3, after the incident, he said that...
What do you think I said? Use fire! Did you listen? No!
I don't even know where to start on why that's wrong. I asked Jordan about this, and he gave me a reply. He said, and I quote, "Leave me alone, I'm full of cold." 1 Fire Blast and Chandelure is down. Thank goodness she didn't have Flash Fire, otherwise this could have been a really stupid mistake. Jeez. Last up for Chantal is Jellicent. I switched to Boxy to try to Toxic Stall Jellicent, and because Gohan is a Fire type. Boxy missed Toxic and Jellicent almost knocks out my best Pokemon. I am 1 critical hit away from losing Boxy. I eventually get a Toxic on my second go, so I went and heal stalled once again. Except, right on the turn I was due to win, I used Protect, forgetting that it could fail because of using potions between turns does not reset the Protect chances. Luckily for me, she didn't get a critical hit, so I survived the fight. Time to face the last Elite Four member, Caitlyn, and not Catherine as I mistakenly thought. Her team is full of Psychic Pokemon. Hopefully Blur will be enough. Her first Pokemon is Renculus. I start by using X-Attack. This should help getting a Pokemon down in 1 hit. Unfortunately, I didn't count on Renculus having Focus Blast. A critical hit would have really put my Nuzlocke in really big trouble. I correctly assumed that Blur would be faster, and I took down Caitlyn's first Pokemon with only 1 crunch. That was a okay start. Next up, it's my old enemy, Sigilyph. I start by healing Blur, and I watch to see how much Sigilyph can do to me. Almost half damage. Whew. That ain't good. I use X defense to buff Blur from Sigilyph's Air Slash, which I now know is actually a special move. I attempt to crunch, but I'm not faster. And I'll let the live reaction speak for itself. That doesn't matter, that's great news. He's, as long as it doesn't crit.
No! No, Dennis gets desperate.
My best shot of winning the battle is now dead. Moving on, I throw Gohan in order to try to do as much damage as I can. I use Fire Blast, and I actually get a flinch, thanks to the King's Rock I attached to it. Just 1 more hit and Sigilyph is gone. Then...
Starting to get exciting! I read that, by the way, because I...
No!
I said it. No! It'll live! I was wrong.
Yeah, it missed. Thanks to 2 really unlucky events, my Nuzlocke is now spiraling out of control. I bring in Georgia, who is speedy, to finish off Sigilyph. It works, so I move on to Caitlyn's third Pokemon, Mashana. I have nothing to counter Mashana. I was hoping that Blur could take her out, but I'll have to improvise now. I throw out Boxy to use my Toxic Stall strategy, which later turned out to be flawed, but nevertheless, I have to wait for an opening. I just need a turn to use Toxic, but it takes a really, really, really long time. Things only get worse as a Charge Beam continues to increase her special attack. I finally get an opening. I land Toxic, and then that's when I find out that she has the ability Synchronized, which Jordan also claimed to know, even though that he mispronounced it, and he never told me about it before sending out Boxy. I wonder why that is. My best Pokemon is dead. I only have 2 Pokemon left. Is it even possible to make it out this fight alive with only the 2 Pokemon I have? I send Giorgio out once again. I use Brick to get rid of her Reflect, and he actually survived a turn. I doubt if he could survive a turn being healed, so I risk it and I use Aerial Ace, which almost knocks out Mashana, but alas, it doesn't, which meant that Giorgio, my longest surviving Pokemon, the Pokemon that took down Clay, the only surviving Pokemon from that battle, is now dead. Her Mashana is finished from the toxic damage, so it comes down to a 1 versus 1, and I do not fancy my chances. It's Sunny versus Gothitelle. If I somehow make it out this fight alive, I might be able to train up a new team for the final Plasma fights, but it would have to take a week just to do it. However, Sunny's special defense isn't great. If I'm honest, it's basically over. But I do survive with 19 HP left. I'm left with a healing loop, but once that critical hit comes, the Nuzlocke is over. It's only a matter of time. I try to use a X special defense when I get the chance. Gothitelle's Shadow Ball also means I get debuffed at the same time. Like I said, just 1 crit, and then it's over. Thanks to a Thunderbolt doing next to no damage, I get an opening to attack. Not only do I survive a Shadow Ball, but Rock Slide actually lands a critical hit, and this time you get to see my reaction to it.
Yes! Oh my god, no!
Okay, we're gonna have to pick this up at another point. I can't believe it. I didn't get critted myself, and all the time, especially since Blur's critical death started the troubles to begin with. For the next part, I frantically hope to find the exit to the Pokemon's League Pokemon Center. I'm pretty sure it exists, but I'm not 100% sure. It's unbelievable that my Nuzlocke is even still alive. I made a lot of crucial decisions that kept the run alive from that horrific battle, from using 2 battles of the Elite Four to level up Sunny, to grinding feathers for money for potions, to grinding Sunny's HP EVs, and much more. I eventually found the exit, and that means I can train up a new team. I re-invite Jordan in a week's time. The training took me about 4 to 5 days since other stuff got in the way. The EV training of the new Pokemon took so much time. It turned out to be vital for keeping my Nuzlocke alive throughout the horrific Elite Four battles. But I got it done, and even had enough time to train me and Jordan's Pokemon for our fight with Gary at Nugget Bridge in our Fire Red Leaf Green Co-op Nuzlocke. Links in the description. Breadman and Newt will rejoin the team now. Sunny leads the team mainly to take down Zekrom, and we have 3 new members who have all been EV trained in HP and Special Defense. They are Happening, the Toxic Rogue, Barbecue, the Ember, and Panda, the Sulk. I'm really happy with the spare Sulk. I hope that will be enough. Things should go more smoothly, but we'll see what will actually happen. But first I have to deal with Reshiram. Who knows how difficult Reshiram will be to capture. Good thing I have a Master Ball. I'm pretty sure that I'll never use it. Ever. First things up, it's the legendary back Pokemon himself, the almighty Zekrom! Thanks to Sunny's enormous high physical defense, Zekrom doesn't do that much damage to me, and it's down in 2 digs with the help of a Soft Sand. Something that I acquired beforehand to make sure that Zekrom would be gone in 2 hits. That's one of his Pokemon down. His next Pokemon is up, and it's Klinklang. I switched into Barbecue since I wanted to make sure that Sunny is safe. I'm pretty sure that you get your Pokemon healed before the final fight. I do not want to switch out straight away. Hyper Beam does little damage, and with just 2 flamethrowers I knock out Klinklang without any issues. So far so good. Caracosta is up next, so I switch into Newt, since both Caracosta's types, water and rock, are good against Barbecue's fire type. Newt almost takes down Caracosta in one hit. Wasn't for study, it would have been in one hit. One wasted heal later, and Newt takes down Caracosta. 4th Pokemon is up, and it's Vanillix. I switch back into Barbecue and proceed to heal before unleashing a Flamethrower, which almost knocks out Vanillix in one shot. Luckily, Barbecue is hardly hurt by Vanillix's attacks, so one turn later, and a Flamethrower finishes the job. Second to last Pokemon is Zoroark. The Zoroark isn't even using its ability. Zoroark doesn't have anything that can trouble Barbecue. The only issue that can arise is a real critical hit, but it doesn't come. Just one Brick Break later and it takes it down. We are on to N's last Pokemon, Archeops. A potential threat, but I switch into Panda. Archeop only uses aerobatics on it, a move that killed Bow back in Chargestone Cave earlier in the run. It's a move that has physical contact, so I just continue healing as Rocky Helmet does all the work. That was surprisingly straightforward. This now means I have a full team of 6 Pokemon that are now fully healed. Just one more trainer left to go. We are almost at the finishing line of this run. Guess this first Pokemon is Cofagrigus. I kick the ball off with a dig and see what it does. It doesn't do a whole lot, and Cofagrigus uses Toxic on me back. This gives me an idea to switch into Hapnin since he can't be poisoned. However, this turned out to be a very big mistake as, for whatever reason, Cofagrigus happens to have the move Psychic, which Hapnin is 4 times weak to. Luckily for me, Hapnin survives, and I have no choice but to switch him out immediately. I switch into Barbecue. I start out by using Assurance. It isn't enough to knock it out. I then decide to follow the advice of my friend and use Flamethrower, thinking that it might be bulky defensive-wise, but maybe not special defense-wise. This knocks it out. 5 Pokemon to go. Buffalound is up. I worry that he would have a Rock-type move, so I switch into Sunny, because of his bulkiness for physical attacks. One Brick Break almost does the job, but he survives. However, since he decides to use Head Charge, the recoil damage takes him out. Geez, if that was a critical hit on Sunny, he would have died. 4 Pokemon to go. Next up is Hydreigon, gets his strongest Pokemon. I switch back into Barbecue for his special defense buffiness, and Firefighting typing, which should be good against Hydreigon. I declare an attack, and then I suddenly find out that Hydreigon knows Surf. That's not good. My Brick Break does more than half damage and I'm still in the green. I risk it and attack believing that a crit could take out Barbecue. Sadly, Barbecue bites the dust. I just didn't realize that Barbecue was in range of getting killed from a non-critical hit. Barbecue becomes the 25th Pokemon to die in this Nuzlocke. Despite the death, the battle is still going my way. I have to move on. I decide to switch into Panda and proceed to knock out Hydreigon with a single Brick Break. Only 3 Pokemon left now. Electros is up. I decide to keep Panda out and heal him. I get very excited when he starts using aerobatics, meaning I can heal stall all the way. Things get even better when he stops using aerobatics and starts using Wild Charge, a move that does recoil damage. When Gessis decides to heal, it gives me the opportunity to use Toxic. Unlike Mashana, Electros certainly does not have Synchronize, so it goes down. 2 Pokemon left to go. Next up is Scienceitoad. I start by using Toxic. Luckily for me, it doesn't miss. I follow this up by switching into Breadman. I stop it from attacking by using Breadman's Fake Out on the first turn. And then on the next turn, I use Protect, blocking Scienceitoad's Muddy Water. This helps build that precious toxic damage, so by the time I heal, Scienceitoad is knocked out by the poison damage. Only 1 Pokemon left to go. Only 1 Pokemon between me and winning the Nuzlocke. I wonder who it will be. It turned out to be Bishop, a Pokemon that is 4 times weak to fighting types. I mean, I love it when my opponent has a Pokemon that is 4 times weak to my entire team. I risk it since there are no Pokemon left after this one. Breadman survives the critical hit Night Slash, and I close combat for the win. And that's it! I've won it! This has definitely been the toughest and longest Nuzlocke I've ever won, but it is finally over. And now it's time to review the Monoloke challenge. This challenge certainly requires a bit of research to get started and to get the most out of it. I can just imagine how different this would have been if I was to select a different type or use a different variant of the rules. For example, there are only 9 Dragon Pokemon that met my non-legendary and dupe clause in Pokemon Black. If I really wanted to use Dragon Pokemon, I would have created a different rule set to better suit it. When I did research for commonly used rules, people seem to adjust the Monoloke rules to better suit their own challenge, and this is something I could not recommend enough. For me, I wanted to catch a variety of Pokemon, so I adjusted the catching rules to make sure of that. After I ran out of fighting Pokemon, I added a reroll rule mid-run. I like how my team looked at, with it all being one type. However, sticking to just one type also has the oddity of your run suddenly becoming in jeopardy just because you ran into a type that's good against you. Some battles that were okay in a normal Nuzlocke will suddenly become a massive block in a Monoloke. For the fighting type, that didn't really come that often. However, Siglif and Mishana were responsible for about 10 of my Pokemon dying. I tried a strategy of holding a Pokemon that I need for an important battle. It almost worked, but an unlucky critical hit ruined the strategy for the only Pokemon that I ended up using it on. I was surprised how many times I came close to losing this run. The final death count of 25 really shows this in action. It wasn't 27 as I said during the full Elite Four video. My mistake. Still though, my previous death record is 22 on my standard run of Pokemon Emerald. A Nuzlocke that was lost at the champion fight. Yeah, that's just how crazy this run was. I had to almost completely rebuild my team on 3 separate occasions. It felt like I was just replacing Pokemon all the time. I mean, Murderer was the only Pokemon called prior to the 6th gym fight. That's incredibly late in the run for the longest surviving Pokemon. This had definitely been the toughest Nuzlocke challenge I've ever completed. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. This video took me months to complete. I was inspired by those single Pokemon challenges popularized by YouTubers like Pikaspray and Madrybread, and I really wanted to see this sort of thing for Nuzlocke challenges. If you enjoyed this video, I recommend my Emerald Starlock video, which follows the same structure, but it's broken into 4 parts. If you plan on doing a Monoloke challenge yourself, or you've done one before, please tell me in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in making this type of video for your own Nuzlocke, or you've already done one, I'm happy to share my experiences or watch your video. I would love to see more of this type of video on YouTube for Nuzlockes. And don't forget to like and subscribe, it's good for the YouTube algorithm. But before I go, I'd like to announce my MVP of the run, and it is Sunny the Conkeldurr, for his efforts in the Elite Four and keeping the run alive during that awful Caitlyn fight. Also, his main rivals for the title all died beforehand, sadly. I was really impressed with Sunny. I've even started training one up for my competitive team in Pokemon Shield. So, thanks for watching.